Earth. When Yuan emerged from the space rift, for a brief moment, he thought the teleportation had failed, that he was still in the seventh heaven. The spiritual energy in the air was simply too dense, too rich to belong to Earth. But he quickly realized that it was because the spiritual energy had flowed in from the seventh heaven. The moment the teleportation device connected the realms, the boundless spiritual energy from the seventh heaven flowed into Earth. Even though it was only a fraction, for a small world like Earth, even the tiniest trickle of spiritual energy from the seventh heaven was enough to blanket the entire planet, saturating every corner with spiritual energy it hadn't experienced since the Immortal Monarch's era. The cultivators on Earth immediately sensed the shift. The moment the spiritual energy thickened around them, many dropped whatever they were doing and entered seclusion on the spot. Fearing it might vanish as suddenly as it appeared, they rushed to absorb as much of it as possible, eager to seize the rare opportunity to advance in cultivation while the heavens allowed it. Since the rift opened up above the dragon's spiral mountain, it didn't take long before Yuan noticed it and descended upon it. When Yuan descended onto the peak of Dragon's Spiral Mountain, his gaze was immediately drawn to two distant figures. It was the Lord and Leah, but something was wrong. The Lord lay motionless on the ground, seemingly unconscious, his aura faint and unstable. Beside him, Leah was transferring her spiritual energy into him. Seeing this, Yuan rushed over and asked,
"What happened?" "He sacrificed his cultivation to activate the teleportation device."
She revealed in a grim tone.
"What? Let me help."
Upon hearing that the Lord had sacrificed his cultivation, Yuan immediately moved to help. However, he didn't rush to pour spiritual energy into the Lord. With his cultivation reduced to the second level of Spirit Apprentice, the Lord could only absorb what his current realm could withstand. Anything beyond that would do more harm than good. Instead, Yuan retrieved some of his blood and fed it to the Lord. Almost instantly, the Lord's complexion improved significantly. Color returned to his face as the chaotic flow of his body began to stabilize. His breathing, once shallow and erratic, grew steady and calm, as if a heavy weight had been lifted from his chest. Seeing that the Lord's condition had stabilized, Leah slowly turned her gaze toward Yuan. The moment her eyes met his, they widened in astonishment. He looked completely different, taller, sharper, more refined. But it wasn't just his appearance. His aura, it was vast, boundless, and utterly unfathomable to her. It was as if she were staring at a stranger wearing the face of someone she once knew. Someone who had soared far beyond her reach.
"Hey, are you really Yuan?"
She couldn't help but mutter.
"I know it's been a few years since we last saw each other, but I can't have changed that much, right? Your face hasn't changed much. I was talking about everything else. Your scent, aura, everything."
Yuan smiled and said,
"Where are the others?" "Probably still training in the 9 heavens. They rarely return to Earth these days."
She said.
"Then I'll leave for now. I'll come back once I get back into my real body."
Then, he soared through the sky and returned straight to his home, landing softly on the familiar balcony just moments later. Stepping inside, a wave of warmth washed over him. There, in the quiet of the room, lay his physical body, resting peacefully beside Chu Liuxiang. But to his surprise, Meisho was there as well, resting on the same bed, her expression gentle and serene.
"So, how does this work? Do I jump inside my own body or something?"
Yuan questioned out loud. Yu Ning then said,
"Since your soul was separated using the soul transference array, we'll likely need to undo the formation first. Do you think you can do it?" "I can try, but I'll need some time to analyze the formation first." "Go ahead. I'll even lend you my body,"
said Yuan. The next moment, Yu Ning took over Yuan's soul avatar and began examining Yuan's real body.
"This formation is much more complicated than I'd anticipated,"
she muttered after a single glance at the formation. Half an hour later, Yu Ning spoke.
"I think it's doable. Fortunately, the soul transference array wasn't created to be unbreakable and is actually quite fragile. Once I remove the formation from your real body, your soul will likely automatically return to its body. I'll begin on your command." "I'm ready. You can begin whenever you're ready." "Okay, then I will begin now."
Yu Ning, using Yuan's avatar, began making array symbols in the air. About 10 minutes later, she combined the array symbols into a single array and sent it directly inside Yuan's body.
"It's broken,"
she said. The very next moment, Yuan's vision went completely blank. Yet despite the absence of sight, he could still feel. A strange, irresistible force had gripped him, pulling at his very essence. He felt his body being pulled, as though something unseen was trying to consume his very existence. This sensation lasted for a few seconds before everything went still. Eventually, Yuan opened his eyes and could see the ceiling right above him. He sat up on the bed and looked down at his body. It worked. He'd finally returned to his true body.
How do you feel?
Yuning asked.
Weak.
He replied. After examining his body more closely, he realized that his cultivation was no longer at the peak of immortal ascension, but his true body's cultivation, which was still in the spirit realm. However, he could sense his cultivation slowly improving.
I'll probably need some time before my body and soul are fully integrated again. That's normal, since your soul has been split into two parts for many years.
Suddenly, Celestial Emperor's curse has activated. When the Celestial Emperor's curse activated, an excruciating pain tore through Yuan, not in flesh or bone, but from the depths of his soul. It was a searing agony unlike anything he'd ever known, as if his very existence was being unraveled thread by thread. Your soul has been damaged. Yuan realized what was happening even without looking at the notification. The Celestial Emperor's curse was trying to destroy his soul. 1986 Unbreakable Will.
Young master. Are you okay?
Yu Ning and the others exclaimed, their voices filled with horror.
The Celestial Emperor's curse is trying to destroy my soul. What? Then you should hurry up and destroy the curse using the sacred chalice of purification.
Feng Yuxiang urged. However, Yuan shocked them by shaking his head and saying,
No, this is exactly what I have been waiting for. That doesn't make any sense.
But Yuan didn't respond and fell silent after entering cultivation. This left the others flabbergasted. None of them could understand why Yuan was waiting for his soul to be attacked. If Yuan's soul hadn't been fortified through his many reincarnations, the Celestial Emperor's curse would have instantly shattered his soul, killing him completely. However, because his soul has existed since the primordial era and has been tempered for billions of years, not even the Celestial Emperor could easily destroy it. Moreover, Yuan has been training Heaven's indomitable soul for years now, which has strengthened his soul even more. Yet, despite this, the Celestial Emperor's curse was relentless and extremely powerful, one of the most powerful curses in the 9 heavens. The curse continued to gnaw at Yuan's soul, causing him incredible pain, and no matter how powerful his soul was, it wasn't indestructible, especially since he hadn't even reached the God Ascension realm. Slow but surely, the Celestial Emperor's curse was destroying his soul. Despite his soul on the verge of being destroyed, Yuan didn't do anything to stop it, allowing it to happen. His puzzling actions greatly worried his companions. A destroyed soul wasn't the same as a destroyed body, and his regeneration ability had no effect on his soul, so if it were truly to be destroyed, he'd die for sure. Meanwhile, in the Celestial Emperor's palace, the Celestial Emperor could sense the activation of his curse, so he managed to reunite his soul with his body. However, as long as my curse is on you, you will not live long enough to return to the 9 heavens. Almost half an hour has passed since Yuan began resisting the Celestial Emperor's curse.
It's time,
he muttered in a low voice. The very next moment, Yuan stopped resisting the curse, allowing it to complete its assault on his soul. His soul, which was already on the verge of destruction, began to crack, causing him to cough up several mouthfuls of blood.
Young master. What are you doing?
Feng Yuxiang cried out loud. However, Yuan was too focused to even hear her voice. Then, your soul has been destroyed. Yuan's body collapsed onto the bed, and his aura completely vanished.
Young master.
Feng Yuxiang and the other emerged from his dantian.
He's dead.
Feng Yuxiang couldn't believe it. Lan Yingying clenched her fists, unsure of what to say.
Calm down, you dumb pigeon.
A calm voice suddenly resounded.
This voice. Dragon Goddess Yao? You should have been with him for long enough to know that he wouldn't do something like this without a reason. That's...
Feng Yuxiang fell silent. Dragon Goddess Yao was right. Yuan wouldn't do something as foolish as killing himself. Just as they began to calm down, Yuan's body suddenly became enveloped by a golden shimmer. It was faint at first, but it eventually became so intense that it illuminated the entire room. You have fulfilled the hidden requirement for Heaven's indomitable soul. Heaven's indomitable soul has evolved into Heaven's undying soul. Heaven's undying soul has begun to restore your destroyed soul. Your will has remained firm even in the face of the destruction of your very existence. You have attained unbreakable will. A few minutes later, Yuan slowly opened his eyes. Your soul has been restored.
Young master.
Feng Yuxiang cried tears of happiness after seeing he'd returned. He showed them an apologetic smile and said,
Sorry for not warning you ahead of time. You really scared me there for a second. What happened, anyway?
Wan Yingying asked.
I'll answer your questions later. Right now, I have to deal with the Celestial Emperor's curse.
Though he may have restored his soul, the Celestial Emperor's curse continued to haunt him and attempted to destroy his soul again. Yuan retrieved the sacred chalice of purification and fed his blood to it. Sacred chalice of purification has begun cleansing the curses that bind you. Unlike the others, whose curses were almost instantly cleansed by the sacred chalice of purification, the Celestial Emperor's curse clung stubbornly to Yuan's soul. However, no matter how powerful the Celestial Emperor's curse was, it was ultimately eliminated by the chalice.
Cough.
In the Celestial Emperor's palace, the Celestial Emperor coughed up a mouthful of blood when his curse was destroyed.
Your Majesty.
The people around him panicked when they saw this.
I'm fine.
He roared. He looked at his blood on the ground and clenched his fists in frustration. You're even harder to kill than a damn cockroach. Why must you continue your pointless struggle? You will never defeat them. Sacred chalice of purification has purified Celestial Emperor's curse on you. Sacred chalice of purification has begun to purify the other causes. Progress, 1%. After purifying the Celestial Emperor's curse, the sacred chalice of purification began purifying the other curses that afflicted Yuan. However, these curses were much more powerful than the Celestial Emperor's curse. Yuan wasn't surprised about these curses since he had been warned about them before. In essence, most of them were natural curses that had followed him from his previous lives. Shortly after Yuan purified the Celestial Emperor's curse, the surrounding spiritual energy surged toward him like a flood, consumed by his body at a terrifying rate, even though he wasn't actively cultivating. With the curse lifted, the seal that had silently suppressed his potential was gone. His cultivation speed, once shackled, had returned to its natural state.
The Celestial Emperor is definitely aware of the situation. We need to return to the 9 heavens as soon as possible,
He said as he jumped off the bed. Before leaving, he looked at Chu Liuxiang and Mei Xiu and mumbled.
Let's meet again in the 7th heaven.
1987 Leaving Earth.
Welcome back, young master. How are you feeling?
Yuan asked.
Thanks to your blood, my condition was able to stabilize. However, with my cultivation like this, I am no longer able to control the formation that protects this world. Fortunately, the spiritual energy from the 9 heavens has temporarily solved this situation. Temporarily, so we're not completely out of trouble yet. No, not yet. Since the gateway between our worlds won't remain open forever, we'll stop receiving more spiritual energy once it closes. The spiritual energy won't last forever either. I don't know how long the spiritual energy we received will last, but it should last a good while,
said the Lord.
That said, as long as both Dragon Spiral Mountains remain standing, we'll be able to activate the teleportation device again in the future. Who will be able to activate the teleportation device now that your cultivation is gone?
Yuan asked. Even if the Lord were to raise his cultivation again, it'd take far too long for him to return to his original cultivation. Yuan glanced at Leah, who quickly said,
Don't look at me. My cultivation won't be enough. I'm sure we'll think of something. Anyway, young master, you shouldn't linger here for too long. The gateway will be closing soon.
The Lord warned him. He nodded and said,
Before I leave.
He retrieved a bunch of vials, each filled to the brim with a crimson liquid.
This is my blood. I don't know when I'll be able to return to Earth, so I'll leave for you. There's so much.
The Lord almost couldn't believe his eyes.
Then, until next. Wait.
The Lord suddenly stopped him.
What is it? Take Leah with you. Huh.
Yuan's eyes widened.
I'd like you to take her to the 9 heavens. I heard you, but...
He turned to look at Leah, who wore a perplexed expression on her face, which surprised him, as he thought she would immediately reject such an idea.
Don't give me that look. You know we've already talked about this. That was before you lost your cultivation. You still want me to leave you when you're in this condition? I cannot. My cultivation may have declined, but I will be fine. Who will manage the Dragon Spiral Mountain? It can manage itself. Then who will protect you? I can't even remember the last time I was attacked. And even if someone is foolish enough to invade the mountain, the young master's friends will still be here.
Leah fell silent when she couldn't think of anything else to convince the Lord.
Go. You're not fated to spend the rest of your life in this small world, wasting your potential. Young master, please drag her to the 9 heavens if you have to. I'll go.
Leah suddenly spoke in a low voice.
There's nothing I can do if you don't want me here.
Without a word, Leah turned skyward and soared toward the rift, which was now visibly shrinking.
Are you certain about this?
Yuan asked. The Lord nodded and replied.
Yes. She and I have spoken of this ever since we first discussed linking the 9 heavens with Earth. One last thing before you go. If the Red Heaven Dragon clan still exists in the 9 heavens, please bring her there. However, only if they are worthy of her.
Yuan nodded.
The Red Heaven Dragon clan, right? I'll do my best. Until next time, young master. Until next time.
Yuan left the Dragon Spiral Mountain and chased after Leah, who was waiting for him in front of the rift.
Let's go.
Leah turned her head to look at the Dragon Spiral Mountain one last time before following Yuan into the rift. Meanwhile, in the 7th heaven, the battle between the Holy Dragon Clan, the evil god Shadow Army, and Heaven's Mandate neared its end. Despite the 7th Squad's assistance, Heaven's Mandate found themselves still on the losing end of the battle. The evil god Shadow Army was simply too overwhelming. Moreover, Dong Yi, who had been away, joined in on the battle.
Kill them. These damn dogs of the Celestial Emperor, kill them all.
Dong Yi roared as he teleported from immortal to immortal with a powerful movement technique, killing them with a single strike.
Fucking evil god's army. You should have remained in the shadows where you've lurked for eras. But now that you've revealed yourselves, we will come for you with the full might of our wrath.
General Wang roared.
Ha ha ha. I'd love to see you try.
Dong Yi laughed. Suddenly, as if responding to Dong Ye's provocation, the heavens above Dragon's Spiral Mountain quaked, and an unfathomable pressure descended, sweeping across the battlefield like the will of an ancient god, halting everyone's movements.
This feeling, don't tell me.
As though he realized something, Dong Yi immediately warned the others.
The Celestial Emperor is making a move. Withdraw.
Without hesitation, the evil god Shadow Army stopped fighting and began scattering in every direction. In the very next moment, a colossal rift tore through the sky, and from its depths emerged the tip of an immense sword, as if the heavens themselves were being pierced. Realizing the situation, the Holy Dragon Emperor gritted his teeth in anger.
That technique. Are you really going that far, Celestial Emperor? Holy Dragon Clan, you should also withdraw if you don't want to die to it. This isn't something any of us can handle.
Dong Yi warned them. Yet, they remained on the battlefield, unwilling to leave.
The Dragon Spiral Mountain is our home. We will never abandon it, even if it means we die with it.
The Dragon Emperor declared.
For Dragon Goddess Yeo.
The others shouted.
These stubborn fools.
Dong Yi turned his attention to Shi Meili before teleporting to her.
We're leaving.
He said to her.
What? We can't leave the Holy Dragon Clan alone.
Shi Meili exclaimed.
They have decided to stay even if it means they'll die, and I have no authority to stop them. However, you're my liege's comrade. I cannot let you die. Sorry, but I'll take you away even if I have to use force.
Before Shi Meili could contest, Dong Yi grabbed her arm and teleported them away from the battlefield, leaving the Holy Dragon Clan and Heaven's Mandate alone. 1988, the Celestial Emperor's unstoppable attack. The moment the Celestial Emperor sensed his curse destroyed by Yuan, a resolute glint flashed in his eyes. Without hesitation, he raised his hand, drawing forth his celestial chi.
Your Majesty. What are you doing? You can't use such a powerful technique without any warning.
A man bearing a unique white and gold robe hastily approached the Celestial Emperor and exclaimed after seeing this.
The results will be catastrophic, and the Celestial Council will be all over this. I am well aware.
He calmly responded.
However, I cannot let him return to the 9 heavens. Even if I receive backlash for this, I am willing to bear the responsibility.
The man fell silent upon hearing the unwavering composure and clear finality in the Celestial Emperor's tone. He was certain that unless someone forcefully stopped him, the Celestial Emperor had no intention of backing out. However, the technique the Celestial Emperor was about to unleash would not just destroy the entire Dragon Spiral Mountain. It would cause irreversible damage in the 7th heaven. Once I reduce Dragon Spiral Mountain to nothingness, his path to the 9 heavens will be severed. And if he is already making his return, then he will be cast adrift in the boundless void of the universe. No different from death itself. The Celestial Emperor mused inwardly. Meanwhile, in the 7th heaven, the Heaven's Mandate began backing away from the Dragon Spiral Mountain when they saw the slit in the sky.
The Celestial Emperor is going to personally intervene. Fall back.
General Wang shouted before hastily creating a portal for them to escape to. Witnessing this, The Holy Dragon Emperor paid them no further heed and turned back toward Dragon Spiral Mountain, where the lifeless bodies of thousands of his fallen clansmen lay. The members of the Holy Dragon clan who were still alive gathered around him.
I never imagined that our Holy Dragon clan would perish in such a situation,
Sighed the Dragon Emperor. He turned to look at the others and continued.
I won't blame you if you wish to leave. There's no way we will abandon you and the Dragon Spiral Mountain. That's right. We have spent our entire lives here, and we will spend our last moments here.
The members of the clan voiced their refusal to leave. The Holy Dragon Emperor smiled and said,
In that case, we might as well spend our last moments trying to protect our home.
He turned his gaze to the colossal sword in the sky, now descended more than halfway through the rift, its presence looming like a divine judgment.
That is the Celestial Emperor's divine judgment, right? Despite being in this world for over 1,000,000 years, this is actually my first time seeing it.
One of the elders remarked.
The ultimate execution technique, powerful enough to kill even a 9th-level God Ascension cultivator with ease. This will sound weird, but it feels like an honor to die to such a magnificent technique.
Once the Holy Dragon clan had mentally prepared themselves, they charged toward the sky in preparation to fight against the divine judgment. Meanwhile, countless eyes across the 7th heaven, and even those gazing down from the 8th and 9th heaven, watched the unfolding scene in stunned silence. The earlier battle had already stirred the realms, but none had foreseen that the Celestial Emperor himself would take action.
What did the Holy Dragon clan do to incite the Celestial Emperor's wrath? Who were those individuals in black? They appeared out of the blue and nearly defeated the Invincible Heaven's mandate.
These people were full of questions and speculations. Meanwhile, the other Royal Dragon clans had already mobilized, dispatching emissaries to the Celestial Emperor's palace with urgent demands to cease his assault on the Holy Dragon clan. Unsurprisingly, the Celestial Emperor had sealed the doors to his palace and completely ignored their demands. This enraged the Royal Dragon clans, yet they were powerless to prevent the Celestial Emperor from obliterating Dragon Spiral Mountain. All they could do was bide their time and prepare to seek retribution once the deed was done. At last, the Celestial Emperor completed the technique and, with unwavering authority, swept his arm downward. In that instant, the sword hanging in the heavens surged with power and plunged forth, its descent no longer gradual but swift and absolute. The sheer pressure radiating from the sword was so overwhelming that all cultivators below the God Ascension realm from the Holy Dragon clan plummeted from the sky like helpless flies. Even the Dragon Spiral Mountain began to sink into the waters beneath it, crushed by the weight of its descent alone.
This is really too much.
The Holy Dragon Emperor muttered as he struggled to stay in the air, much less fight it. Those strong enough to withstand the pressure unleashed their most formidable techniques upon the descending sword, shaking the heavens and earth with their onslaught. Yet their efforts were in vain. The blade remained unscathed, as if they were hurling raw eggs against an immovable mountain. The Holy Dragon Emperor suddenly charged toward it, his form erupting into that of a colossal silver dragon. With a thunderous roar, he lunged at the descending sword and sank his fangs into it, desperate to halt, or at least slow, its relentless fall. The others followed suit, but alas, their efforts were futile against the Celestial Emperor's overwhelming prowess.
HAA.
Just as the sword was about to bring ruin upon Dragon Spiral Mountain, a faint sigh echoed through the heavens, soft yet boundless. Then, the space just above the peak of the Dragon Spiral Mountain warped and twisted, and like a ghost drawn from the void, a solitary figure draped in black robes and a face veil appeared out of thin air. This figure exuded an unfathomable presence far beyond the Holy Dragon Emperor, and just their presence alone was enough to slow down the descending sword.
This presence, it can't be.
Gasps of shock rippled through the spectators as they beheld the sudden arrival of a figure who had reached the pinnacle of cultivation, the appearance of a cultivation god. Congratulations, you have finished listening to the current content.